All right, and we are live on the Mets Way. The Mets Way is back. Jared is not here today. Jared Levinson and Andrew Michelle will not be joining us, but Josh Shaw and myself, James Nolan, we're here to talk some Mets tonight. Not so much to get into. I mean, Correa, a little stall, and then Verlander obviously is here. We got to get your thoughts on that, Josh. But overall, happy holidays to all the Mets fans. Hopefully, everybody had a good one, and the New Year's is going to be well. But in the world of Mets land, Josh, how do you feel about these these Mets and this whole entire Carlos Correa situation and his leg?
I don't know. Like, I've been trying to think about this a lot, and the conclusion I've kind of come to is I don't. I like Correa as a player. I think he'd be a wonderful Met, but I don't know about the fit and if the deal is really worth making. I hate to be on my little prospect stand on the street and be like, oh, but Brett Beatty, because we don't know. And obviously, there's no guarantee he's going to be Carlos Correa or even half of Carlos Correa. But when two of your top prospects and Mark Vientos and Brett Brady, your third baseman, it should stop you from making a move for Carlos Correa. But it gives me pause when the Mets' whole organization philosophy these last few years have been we're going to get guys in short term deals and then build out the farm system and go from there. But if you sign Correa, the left side of the infield is locked up for 10 years. So that's not leaving any room for the farm system to grow and catch up with you. That is going, well, now we got to shift probably Beatty to left, which he's not really done all that much in his professional career, and move Vientos because he's not playing first, by the way. And the whole infield is now just locked in for at least 6 to 7 years, hopefully, between McNeil, Correa, Lindor, Alonso. So I find it kind of, I don't want to say rejects, but it contradicts what the previous statement and sentiment was. And I don't know. I mean, clearly the Mets aren't going 12 years with Carlos Correa. If anything, it's going to be maybe 10 to 11, I would hazard a guess, but it's not going full 12. So I feel fine in that regard, but I still think it is not the best fit in the world. It's not like this is a team that is doomed without him, the way the Giants, I feel, really, really need Carlos Correa.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like a lot of Mets fans feel the same way, honestly. Like, yeah, we it would be nice to have Correa, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, does this Mets team need him? Because like you said, we do have those prospects in the system. Brett Beatty, we saw what he even though he wasn't the bad and average didn't show it in the box score. The contact that he made, the hard outs that he made, we loved it. The Mets way loves Beatty. I'm not so much high on Vientos, to be honest, but
Mm-hmm.
listen, if the deal ends up falling through with Correa, I'm not going to be upset because it means the Mets found something that they were alarmed by, and they're playing it safe. And at the end of the day, it's not like we're not spending money. We still have the highest payroll in baseball by Jesus. I don't even know how much by, but
It's
we're
100
here in the New
plus.
York. Yeah, by the in the next, and that's by the New York Yankees who's below us, and they spend so much money too. But at the end of the day, like you said, we got Beatty, we got Vientos, so we don't get Correa. All right, give Beatty a shot. Listen, Correa, obviously, he would be a huge focal point behind Alonso. I would love it. I want to see him behind Alonso. We need that protection behind Alonso, but I think there's other routes besides Carlos Correa. And also, Carlos Correa, has he ever played in over 150 games?
Yes, he's pretty much played 95% of his games the last 3 seasons, I want to say.
He has.
2020 was a down year. 2021 was a bounce back year, and 2022 was somewhere in the middle. The other thing I think people are forgetting with Correa, while you look that up and verify this, is the Mets don't need a third baseman. There's Eduardo Escobar. He exists, everybody, and he ended the season like a house on fire, destroying every baseball he could reasonably touch. So I don't know why. Like, I've seen a lot of Mets fans being like, "Today would be a great day to announce the signing of Carlos Correa. Hey Mets, please sign Carlos Correa. Make the signing official." And it's just like, can we just wait and see what happens? Like, is there any harm in just being like, hey, if it gets done, it's cool. It'll be announced when it gets done. And if it doesn't, it'll get announced when it gets done. And guess what? You go Escobar for this year, platoon him with Beatty. and then next year it's all Beatty because Escobar's a free agent, and that's fine. And vice versa, if they do sign Correa, I think the plan is probably Canna and Beatty split, and then eventually Beatty steps up in left field next year when Canna's gone. But I don't know. This signing potential signing causes a lot of ripples in the lineup that are both good and bad.
Yeah, 100%. And Beatty, you mentioned Beatty a lot. I love Beatty. We obviously I just said we're big fans of Beatty. But and you also mentioned Escobar. I feel like when Beatty did get called up, it was kind of a little like Bucks. Not I'm not gonna say Buck or Epler, whoever made the decision, whichever Met made the decision to bring up Beatty. It felt kind of like it was like a jolt for like, hey Escobar, you gotta pick it up because this kid's gonna steal your spot. Like,
Well, wasn't he
and
hurt though? So like, what is the
yeah,
jolt?
he was hurt, but like it was still like at the time Escobar. It wasn't like a big injury. Like we knew he was coming back, and I don't know. It just felt like even when he did come back, Beatty was still playing a lot. And then when I don't know, it just felt like after Beatty came up, that's when Escobar really turned it on. And listen, that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes veteran players need that little jolt by seeing a prospect come up. And listen, I'm down to rock with Beatty and Escobar if Correa falls through. And like you said, every Mets fan on Twitter is going to be like, we need Correa, we need Correa. Mets, please sign Correa. And listen, I'm one of those guys too. It would be great. I would want him, but do we need him? That's the question. Do we need him? Do we need Carlos Correa?
Are you at all annoyed by how Cohen's handled this a little bit of the
Ah,
talking before the signing, after the quote unquote signing, and now just the radio silence since?
I saw a couple Mets fans that were actually tight because they were like, "Oh, Cohen goes out there and signs Correa and then backs off on it, so the ticket prices drive up." And then like I don't know, I just saw a lot of like conspiracy theories on like,
Ugh,
listen, I think
God.
it's weird that Cohen is kind of making these moves in Hawaii. And I'm not sure if Epler was involved. I'm not sure on the whole thing, but I'm hearing that Epler wasn't really involved that much. So
I
I'm
mean,
just worried
I
about.
can't imagine he wasn't though. Like, I can't
Yeah,
imagine
but
Steve was like, "Hey Billy, when you wake up in the morning, guess what? We signed Carlos Correa." He'll be like, "Well, excuse me." I imagine he was someone plugged in, and I don't know. I don't personally hold anything against Cohen for being in Hawaii because it's like he assumed Correa had
yeah,
signed. He assumed we were going to a holiday. Things changed, and now it's not like he's going to hang up the phone just because he's on a holiday.
yeah, 100%. And I saw actually a funny, miserable Mets guy. I'm not sure if you follow him on Instagram. He's hilarious. He posted a funny video. It was like Steve Cohen in Hawaii, just sipping a couple drinks, and then he was like, "Carlos Correa didn't sign with the Giants, 12 years, 300 mil. Give it to him. Huh. I just bought a painting the other day for $1 billion. Why not?" It's
I can
insane
do
though.
feel like the new ownership part of Cohen coming out this last really 2 3 weeks of I feel confident, which isn't a bad thing. So I'm going to tell the press that we wanted Correa and this is why. And then when the deal falls through, I'm then going to give an interview after we quote unquote signed Correa about why I did it. When it's like you don't have to do anything, Steve. Like just let things play out and then you talk to the press or you make some official public like statement. But by the fact that he's already gone and said so much, this deal with Correa kind of I don't want to say has to get done, but it's a very very odd look for him if it doesn't, especially when he's gone so out in public to be like, no, we got him or we're really interested. So I just I don't know. I love Steve. We all love Steve. But sometimes, buddy, just keep a lid, keep a lid on the old mouth because it doesn't all have to come out. You can have some things in the shadows.
Yeah, and like he's so aggressive. He's very aggressive, and I think it showed. I love how he locked up Brandon Nimmo long term. I kind of want to get your thoughts on that
Mhm.
because, yeah, what are your thoughts honestly on like the whole entire offseason as a whole? Like, do you like the idea of? It kind of feels like Cohen is testing. For me, this is how I kind of view it. I think
Yeah,
Cohen is testing baseball. He kind of, I think he sees the Mets as not only just a baseball team, but as a obviously as a business, but like as a legit business. Because we see other teams like the Oakland A's, the Pittsburgh Pirates, I go on and on. these teams that just don't spend money. And then
Mhm.
now we're seeing teams like not just the Mets, but we're seeing the Padres going out there and offering Aaron Judge $400 million reportedly. And then we're seeing the Giants trying to spend a lot of money now. The Dodgers obviously always been big spenders. And the Yankees, I don't know what Steinbrenner's up to. I wrote a little blog about that, about how the Yankees have kind of been going to a different route lately, but that's a whole nother story. But at the end of the day, it kind of feels like Cohen is trying to force change in the game of baseball, where he's like,
Hmm.
you got to spend money because I'm here to play and I'm going to give these guys not, net, yeah, what they deserve, because Brandon Nimmo did deserve that contract. I'm not going to say he didn't just because he's Nimmo, he's our guy. And I'm hoping, but I'm still hoping that him going out there and spending money like this means that he's going to go out there and extend Pete Alonso. He's going to go out there and extend Jeff McNeil. And this whole entire farm system as a whole is going to get built up from this, because listen, trading prospects, that's what gets rid of prospects. So if we could sign guys kind of like what the Dodgers did a couple years ago, like about a decade ago, when the Dodgers were starting to really spend money, and now look at them. Every single, like he said, he wants to be the West Coast Dodgers, and listen, I think he's going to be the West Coast Dodgers, and I think he's going to be the West Coast Dodgers, and like he's trying to do it, but in his own way, and his own way is just spending that much more money. It's insane what he is doing to the game of baseball, spending all this money, regardless of even if we don't get Carlos Correa or or whatever happens with Correa. I'm just so happy to see he's going out there and he's being aggressive, but I hope it does not mean that signing a Correa is going to stop us from extending our own guys, Alonso, McNeil, who are going to be due for contract soon.
I don't think anything's going to stop Steve Cohen from doing what he wants unless an agent or a player says no. I think everything is on the table for Cohen as long as he wants it, which is why even if we do get a Correa, I'm not worried about that suddenly changing the books. This isn't the Red Sox who are like, well, you see, we aren't going to keep Xander Bogaerts, but we will spend significantly less money on a Japanese hitter who we have no interest, who we have like no knowledge about, because we're pinching pennies now. And we're going to sign Corey Kluber, but we won't re-sign Nate Eovaldi for $10 million more, even though he's a better player, more consistent, been on the roster for 5 years, whatever. So I don't think anything's going to stop Cohen, and I do think he is great for the game of baseball, but I do worry what it means for the people who don't think he's good for baseball and how that reflects the Mets, where I almost think Cohen could get punished for a system that he's trying to break, but others don't want him to break. Like it almost sounds like a spy throw of like one man changes the whole trajectory of everything. Suddenly, the majority try and bounce it back and get back at him. Because I don't know, owners are petty. Like the thing I think a lot of people forget about this is these owners are billionaires, and most billionaires, Steve Cohen himself included, are petty, vengeful men who don't get to this position of power because they sell candy bars to kids in need. You know, they're not all they're not all great people. Look no further than Washington Commanders and a litany of other owners throughout all of sports. And I just worry that they're going to do retaliation. There was already the interview that of well, it's not what is the fucking the word collusion, but and then he goes on to list exactly what collusion is. That's troubling to me. That already there's such a pushback from a guy who's just trying to do what it seems the vast majority of MLB front offices don't want to do, and that's win.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, do you have to spend money to win? No. Obviously, everybody has to follow their own blueprint, but it is frustrating when you see teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates basically not even try. Because if you're not going to spend, play the analytic game, play the Atlanta Braves game, play the, like, you know what I mean? The Braves just went out there and signed another guy, $73 million, 6 years, Sean Murphy. Like, they just keep doing it. They keep getting guys on steel contracts. So, listen, if you're going to be cheap, at least be cheap like the Atlanta Braves and be smart about it. Don't be so cheap where you're like the Pirates, because that's what fans don't want to see. And I think I'm hoping Cohen by doing this kind of does change that, because like it doesn't make sense though. Like the Pittsburgh Pirates would be like that, because Pittsburgh is, listen, it's not New York, obviously, it's not L.A., but Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh. Andrew McCutcheon used to play there. It's got potential. So like I think Cohen kind of sees, and also what I like also is he's going after big name players. So I'm not going to say the whole Otani
Hmm.
thing. I don't want to get into it yet because that's like a whole entire hour episode. Like that's a lot.
Is it? Is it? Because I think it's just like, hey, if they can sign him, they probably should. Like, I think it's that simple, quite frankly.
I think it's legitimate now where it's like nothing's off the table, obviously. And with Billy Epler and his ties to to Otani, like, and then Kodai coming in, and then we already got. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just so excited for next off season, but I don't want to think
Oh
about
my
next
god.
off season. I want to think about 2023, and 2023 involves either Carlos Correa on this team or him off this team or Beatty in this team. So I want to ask you this: if let's say Correa is not on the Mets, what do we do? Do we go? Is Beatty on the roster full time opening day and in the starting lineup on opening day, third baseman,
Hmm.
or is Escobar in that spot?
I think it's Escobar. I like Beatty a lot. I mean, obviously, we've said it about 5 times now, so I'm going to say it once more. We like him, but I don't think you should rush a prospect because you want the big league team to compete in a way that they maybe can't. Because the only harm you're doing by doing that is to the prospect who you're hoping will not contribute to this season, but to next season and the season after that, and hopefully maybe a decade to come. So if Beatty comes out the gate slow, there should be no shame for either him or the organization to go like, no, we're going to stick in AAA or AA, wherever it may be. Let it come to you. When it happens, it happens. When it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, last year's call up was primarily injury motivated, and when he was healthy, he wasn't really a thought to even make the postseason roster. Although I don't think he was really eligible, but I think even if he was healthy, no one would have been like, got to have Brett Beatty on there because he just hadn't done much, and that's fine. He played like 10 games. So I can't imagine a world where Beatty supplants Escobar when Escobar is a really quality locker room guy, came on at the end of the season, does everything you want out of a third baseman, defensively at least for the most part. Could he be faster? Could he have a stronger arm? Yes. But he plays the position really, really well. He knows the groove, he knows the chemistry. So I think it will be Escobar to start the season. The bigger question is Francisco Alvarez. And where do you think he will be to start the season?
Oof. Um. Well, I don't know. Now that we just got Navarez, it kind of shakes things up a little bit because we still do have Nito. Bye bye McCann. I'm sorry about that, Josh.
My McStandness follows me to Baltimore. We'll stick around.
Hey, listen, we got to root for Baltimore because they do play the Yankees a lot. So we'll still be rooting for James McCann over there. Um, I don't know. Maybe he could. Honestly, I'm honestly hoping him well because he did have like you said it a bunch of times. Jared said it a bunch of times. The repertoire that he had with the pitchers, it was nice to see. He was like DeGrom's guy, and I know DeGrom's not a Met anymore, but you know he was McCann's a good guy. Um, also we got, Beatty though, like he hit 184 in 38 at bats at the major league level. So like that's what kind of obviously scares off a little bit of like some people, some Mets fans. But at the same time, in the minors, I'm just looking at it right now. He was he's got a glove. Jesus, his fielding percentage is nice. But his batting average in Binghamton was 312. In 340 at bats, he hit 19 home runs, 59 RBIs. Obviously, that's double A. And then in Syracuse, he only played 6 games in Syracuse. Jesus.
Then he got called up. Just as he was
Yeah.
called up at Syracuse, the injuries happened to the big leagues team, so he got called up to the major leagues.
And I guess he did hit 364 in 6 games. So that's pretty nice to see. And his on base percentage is always up there. 406 in the 89 games at in 2022 at the double A level. 462 in this 6 games in Syracuse. In 2021, is his total altogether with two teams. His on base percentage was 382. So this guy gets on base, and like I don't know. I love Correa. Obviously, I've said it. I would love to have him on the team, but I'm not going to be so torn up about it. Like, because like you said, Escobar was on a tear to end the season, and if Escobar is not on a tear to start the season, then we still got Beatty, who I think can I think he'll be able to figure it out. And I don't know him in the left hand, his left-handed bat, I think will also come up clutch, especially because we have guys like Alonso in the lineup, Starlin Marte, who are right-handed. We got Canna. We need lefties in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I know what I say. I don't know a lot, but like, there's just so hard to project so much sort of this stuff where I don't think 10 games is enough to make a judgment call on any player in baseball, no matter who it is. It could be an all star, it could be a rookie, it could be an aging veteran. It just doesn't really matter enough to me. And I just, there's no world to me where you tell me coming into the season, Beatty's better than Escobar. So Escobar should be the starting third baseman if there's no Correa. To me, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna pull up his OPS this last year, especially to end the season. Escobar, like you said, he was on a tear to end the season. So I'm gonna pull up actually his last his last
It was
50
from like
games.
September on or late August on. He was just a man on a mission. The month of Escobar, as Gary, Keith, and Ron called it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, in his last 50 games, Eduardo Escobar had a batting average of 290 with 47 hits, 9 home runs, 29 RBIs. And the year before, when we did sign him because he hit 20 plus home runs in 2021. So like he's got pop. It's not like crazy to say that Eduardo Escobar can make an impact at third base. Obviously he's not no Carlos Correa, but like we said before, do we need Carlos Correa?
Can I say
Obviously,
something?
what's up?
I don't really think I want Carlos Correa, and it's not because anything's wrong with him as a player. I just think baseball is more fun when more good teams are around. And as much as I love the Mets, I almost don't love the thing that they're doing now. Just like, well, we got a ton of money, we'll just sign everyone. Because then it's not really like a struggle to win anything. You're just like outspending everyone else and hoping you don't get ruined on a bad contract. And I don't want to say it takes any enjoyment away from me because come April and summer, I will be riding with this team no matter if we send out like Yoenis Cespedes out there again and 4-year-old David Wright shout out. But it just kind of rubs me the wrong way that we are kind of becoming what the Yankees were, which I despised even as a
I love
kid.
it.
I mean, I
I
like
love
it
it.
too because I know what it means, but I just don't want to see baseball become a watered down product of like, well, the Mets just have everybody. Like it'd be nice to see like the NL West be a more competitive division now if we have the Padres, a Correa led Giants, or wherever he goes, the Dodgers off. Like I just want more parity in the game. And the Mets signing Correa doesn't do that. It just kind of does the opposite. And I personally, as a fan of the game, not just of the Mets, I just kind of hope he doesn't sign here.
Well, I think the argument I have towards not signing Correa or another impact bat. I mean, obviously the only other impact bat really is Correa. Um, 12 years. I'm like apparently I saw that John Heyman was reporting that Correa and his people are not really like they don't want to restructure the contract. They want that 12-year, 300 million.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
It
you
was
know,
like, well, I
so
don't want anything less than the 312 million you offered me, please. And it's
yeah, like give me the money that you offered me, please. Um, but all in all, like I don't know. Regardless if we don't get a Mets found something that they didn't want, and then we got Beatty, we got Escobar, but it's just like I like the idea of honestly building that super team. I'm on the opposite side of the fence. I like being the new not the new Yankees, but the the new Mets. The Steve Cohen Mets. I don't care who it is. We're gonna be in the mix on any single player. And it's not like he's just in the mix on every player because he wasn't going after Judge. He wasn't going after Trey Turner, who I wanted so
they
badly.
were out going after Trey Turner, though. There were discussions, I imagine.
There were probably discussions, but I think they wanted to go short term. They didn't want to go that long. If they're going to go that long, I think they wanted to go in that Correa route, or I don't know. I think the only ones who really deserve the long term contract. I don't know. Obviously, they all deserve their long term contracts, but I wouldn't give Trey Turner 12 years now. Now looking back at it, um, yeah, I just watched
This is hilarious because we had like a
his
1,000 word
style of
text
play.
exchange about why you need Trey Turner on the Mets, and I was like, no, we don't. And now you're just on the come around.
His style of play just doesn't age well. It just he swings. His athleticism bails him out so much. Like now looking back at it, he's what 28, 29 years old. So maybe he's got 3 to 4 years, and then 5 to 6 years later, when he loses his speed, his ability to get the bat around the ball on those outside pitches that he's hitting over the fence. Well, not even over the fence, the gaps. He's just a five-tool baseball player, but he's a five-tool baseball player solely on athleticism.
I don't agree with
Not
that.
solely on athleticism, but like he majority of it, he's an athlete. He's an athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this isn't the Trey Turner podcast. What a show that would be if it was like every week we break down the latest Trey Turner news. He's still a Philly, episode complete. But I don't know.
I wonder if
I'm
there is
just
a
very
better
conflicted
podcast.
about.
Like
I'm very conflicted about this whole Correa thing. The fans are annoying me now. I just kind of prefer if it was like the super team is nice on paper and in theory. I agree with you, but the super team doesn't always work. Number one, and number two, you don't have to have a super team to win in baseball.
no, no,
I,
yeah,
so it is kind of like you're making yourself a villain. Not that I completely hate it, but you're going all this length and doing all this sort of stuff when you don't have to. Though I would agree with this, and I guess we should probably talk about this before we wrap up. The Mets do need another bat in this lineup, whoever it may be. That I don't know, either it's Correa or not. But the Mets do need another bat because this lineup is not thin, but it needs some oomph. It needs some big boys.
yeah, and it's the same lineup that we're rolling out with last year, basically. Obviously, we got more pitching, better bullpen, which I'm sure you love the bullpen moves. That
It's good. It's
you,
good. It's good work, Billy.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, the lineup it does need a little bit more juice. Hopefully, we're in like as long as I feel like even if we don't get Correa and he's not that impact bat, if we can get to the trade deadline and we're in the mix, which I'm sure we will be, knock on wood. Um, I really hope we are because if we're not, I'm gonna be pissed off. If we spend all this money and we're not in the mix at the trade deadline, so I'm hoping that impact back can come from the trade deadline. If it has to come from the trade deadline, then it has to come from the trade deadline. If it means not signing Correa for 12 years when he could potentially get hurt or whatever with his leg, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but if that's what it takes, if we have to go make that trade deadline move to get that impact bat, then so be it. I'd rather go out there and get a free agent. But if it's 12 years, wow, 12 years scares me. That's more than Lindor.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's
Well, we're on
crazy.
the topic of bats. I do want to pat myself on the back. I suggested Dalton for our show earlier this offseason. Guy got traded for a haul to Toronto, and that is not a haul I think the Mets should have ever done. So even in my wildest dreams, I didn't think a Dalton Varsho trade would require a top 10 prospect in baseball.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that just wipes an Otani trade off the table because Otani would probably require the Mets
They
farm
should never
system.
trade for Otani. Not
Yeah,
don't trade for him because I hate to keep doing this conversation, but
I
the
don't think.
prospect system is very thin. We are about to have a bunch of pet draft picks in the first 100 between the DeGrom signing, the Bassett signing. So that's two picks coming our way. Like the Mets should have a very loaded draft this next year and a half, or this next year. So when you combine that with last year, where we have Harada, a Jet Williams, a Blade Tidwell, and a couple other depth pieces, the farm system should be set up nicely. But it's set up nicely because right now the top two guys are really, really good. And then it takes a kind of giant drop off the cliff of like, Ronnie Mauricio, let's go. And Kevin Parada, who hasn't played a single game really above A ball. Like,
I
so
saw a funny
yes, the
thing
farm
about
system.
Prada.
The farm system can be good, but the Mets would drain it before it even gets to like a potentially great level.
I saw a funny thing about Prada today. It was like one of the parody Mets accounts. It was like the Mets they declined a package for Otani reportedly because Kevin Parada was included in the trade package and he's dating Steve Cohen's daughter.
Is he really?
No, I have no clue.
Oh,
I
okay.
was looking it up for like an hour trying to figure it out if it was true. Like, dude, is Kevin Parada actually dating Steve Cohen's daughter? Because like that,
I heard a lot of stories about him during his college time. I don't know if a lot of Mets fans know about that, but that man is a genteel. He gets around.
he's a fiery guy. He's a fiery guy. It would be
Mm,
nice to see a guy like I'm like not a guy like that. Like a fiery guy like Rodon. I feel like he fits New York so well at the Yankees. I'm happy that we didn't get him, but I'm happy to see like a guy like that in New York, a guy that's like energetic. Because we got our guy, we got
mhm.
Scherzer, so we already have our energetic guy. We
I
don't
mean,
need.
yeah, like Rodon, he's combustible and just maybe he might backfire in our face this season. But yeah, otherwise,
Yeah, I mean, dude,
I
we need pitching prospects. We have all these like we're really like lacking on the pitching side of the prospects. I mean, we just I don't know what Cohen's plan is and Epler's plan is to solve the pitching side of the prospects, but maybe we just buy pitching and then hopefully develop bats. I mean, maybe that's the plan. I don't know, but either way, I'm with it. Whatever the Mets roll out with, like you said, come April, come May, we're gonna be like, let's go Mets, man. Like it's time. Like screw the Phillies. No Bryce Harper to start it off. Hopefully he gets back healthy. You know, take your time, Bryce Harper. You know, we want you back. You want to be back fully healthy. Take your time, Bryce. Take your time. Um, God forbid you get hurt again. You don't want to re-injure yourself. So I think he
this is
really
some
should take his
dangerous
time.
waters you're walking into here.
But the Braves, Sean Murphy. I saw a tweet too. It was like, listen, if you're upset about the Braves going out there and signing these guys on cheap deals and the Mets not going out like the Mets going out there and basically just somewhat it feels like overspending for guys. Um, kind of just don't be upset because at the end of the day, Steve Cohen has the money. You know, like that,
That's
like
such a lame excuse, though.
how though? It's so true. He has the money. He does not care. Like he's just like I'm
I
the king.
know. Okay, I'll say this, then we have to wrap up. I think no Mets can be like, well, how come the Mets didn't do what the Braves did? Because they're both at completely different points in their
Yeah,
organizational spot. So like, the Braves can make those trades because they've pretty much gone as far, not as far as they've gone, but they are already a proven contender. They've made the playoffs multiple times now. They've won the division multiple times now. Their prospect farm is still okay, and they've really just gotten okay because they traded everyone else for really solid players. Whereas the Mets, if they traded their top prospects, it's kind of like I don't know. It's just be like it went
flip.
from like yeah, it went from good to like just bad or mediocre. So we can't even be like, well, how come the Mets didn't sign Sean Murphy? It's like, well, they can't really. They probably shouldn't trade for a Sean Murphy right now for a multitude of reasons. So like, be mad that the Mets didn't sign Alonso early on or McNeil early on or Nimmo early on.
They gonna
But
get
by
their
the time
guy.
we get to the player's fourth year, I think most agents are going to go like, no, let's just get to free agency at this point. Because the ship sailed. If the player's making it this well, played so well by their fourth season, guarantees are they'll make a good chunk of change. So they're not going to be incentivized to take a team friendly deal. But the Sean Murphy thing is weird because he could have hit free agency in like 2 or 3 years and yet just signed a deal. But that's how the Braves work. And, there's nothing wrong with, I don't know. I just hate the excuse of like, well, Cohen has money, doesn't matter what will happen. It's like, well, it kind of does. They still need to draft well and develop well and make smart signings if they do and smart trades. And that's a lot that doesn't have to do with money.
Yeah, 100%. That does. I mean, kind of because you can hire the best guys.
Yeah, but
Um,
the best guys can still get it wrong.
yeah, 100%. I mean, we got Buck. That was nice.
Yeah, but Buck's not down in like Port St. Lucie every single day being like, well, I think he could work on his exit velocity this way. He's just in his office actually working with the MLB team.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like nice to see that. Like, I feel like, but Cohen's definitely going out there and buying the best guys on the prospect level. He's definitely talking to these guys. He definitely has his guys that's letting him know who to hire and why to hire this guy, why to hire that guy. So I'm sure in a couple of years, like obviously I'm excited for 2023 Mets, but in a couple of years, I'm really excited for what this Mets team is going to look like and what the whole entire Mets brand is going to look like because they're rebuilding the stadium. Like not rebuilding the stadium, but like You know what I mean? They're doing
The
that whole
video
entire
board.
scoreboard. Yeah, the scoreboard renovation. Apparently, Cohen has plans for outside the stadium. He wants to get like a bunch of buildings, apartments, and malls. Like, and then they're building the NYFC, the field soccer club right next to City Field. So, I mean, it's exciting. Not only just the roster of the Mets and the whole entire pursuit of a championship, but just being a Mets fan, just the whole entire experience of being a Mets fan. Like, you can root for it, even if we like. Let's say we get Correa now. Let's say the Mets sign Correa. Now think of the young Mets fan. He has so many guys on this roster where he could pick from. Where that you have Carlos Correa, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, Verlander, Scherzer, Edwin Diaz, Kodai
Well,
Senga now. Like that's really eight
Verlander Scherzer will
guys.
be gone before that kid hits 8. So
Yeah. But even Senga, he's another one. Diaz, like there's so many guys on this roster that like fans can root for easily. And I think that's like a huge thing for an organization. And two, they're good players. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping it translates over. I'm hoping they can all stay healthy because that's the key, I think. If they don't stay healthy, we're screwed. But luckily, Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil are two guys that have stayed healthy. But like, I'm still worried about this Nimmo thing. I mean, a lot of people haven't talked about it, but the guy only played in over 140 games once in his career. That was in a contract year this year. So
All right.
that's a whole nother
I mean,
topic.
I guess as if they wanted Kevin Kiermaier, I guess they should have signed him for 1 year, 10 million. I'm
Listen,
sorry,
I'm
guys.
I'm hyped about it. It's just no one's
No,
bringing
I
that up,
know.
and
It's just like I don't care. Like people bring that up sometimes. It's like, well, there's no other option. Like, what do you want to do? Like
yeah.
bounce
I mean, it's
Marte
kind of like
back,
it's
but he'll.
like the David Wright thing. I mean, he doesn't have the career like David Wright yet at this point in his career, but like the David Wright contract, obviously looking back at it, it's like yeah, you wish you didn't give it to him, but at the end of the day, it was David Wright. Like
I mean, it's 100, like 140, still a lot of games, by the way.
yeah, but when you look at the number of games he played in his career, this year was the most I think he played. It was I think 147. I want to say maybe 153. Um, But yeah, his first year he played only 69 games.
Where
That
he
was his
came up
rookie
halfway through
year.
the year.
Yeah. But 2019, 69 games. Last year only 92 games. 2017, 69 games. Um, yeah. I mean, 2016 is rookie year. That was 47 games. That was rookie year. So he did get hurt the year following. And then
I mean,
2018, he had 140 games. 2018 and 2018 and 2022, Brandon Nimmo. If we can get those versions of Brandon Nimmo for, I'd say, like 5 out of the 8 years, even 4 out of the 8 years, because what was it, 8-year deal,
yes.
right? We get 4 or 5 out of the 8 years, the 2018, 2022 Brandon Nimmo. That'll be worth it.
I mean, I think it's worth it regardless.
Yeah, just a little topic, but that's it though for the Mets way. Anything you want to say though before we head off?
No, I hope there's a Carlos Correa resolution. That way, people on Twitter will stop being really whiny about it. It's like, guys, just because you tweet you want it to be signed today doesn't mean he's going to be signed. He'll be signed when he's signed, or he won't be signed. It's fine. Just like, all right. Here's just a small rant before we leave. It's like spend time with your family, enjoy the new year, watch some movies. Don't fret about when Carlos Correa is going to sign, because it happened at 3 a.m. when it was originally supposed to, and no one knew about it either then, and it was completely fine. The world didn't end because you didn't know ahead of time.
And nobody wanted Carlos Correa until we had him.
That's right. It
So
wasn't even on the radar. So let's just all calm down, enjoy time with your families, and don't worry when Jeff Passan's going to tweet news about Carlos Correa. It's okay.
yeah, we got Omar Navarre that we got to worry about. We got Brandon Nimmo, Justin Verlander, Kodai Senga. Who else? Edwin Diaz, David Robertson. Am I missing anybody?
No, I think you got them all.
Dude, we're just Steve Cohen is still out here swinging, regardless if we get Correa or don't get Correa. So if you're a Mets
Hmm.
fan, don't be upset like Josh said. Enjoy New Year's. And then after New Year's, when pitchers and catchers report starts to heat up around what, February, March? Is that
Mm-hmm.
couple months away? Couple months
Yep.
away. Here we go, starting to get into the swing of the Mets talk. That's so boring, though. Pitchers and catchers report. Ugh.
Oh my god.
Yeah. All right, but let's wrap things up. Thank you for tuning into the Mets way, and yeah, let's go Mets.
Yep.